You know what? After getting tons of messages and comments of people saying, the seed has been planted, you will probably make me want to start my own podcast. I wasn't even planning on starting one, and now I'm actively thinking about it. After getting such comments, I've decided to record a podcast episode specifically for those of you who said something along those lines. So today, I will be sharing no less than 10 reasons why every solopreneur should start podcasting today. So buckle up because some of these might surprise you. This is Say Yes to Podcasting, where solopreneurs learn how to start podcasts that attract their ideal clients and do the marketing for them. I'm your host, Anja Lordanic. Let's launch your show. Ever since I started sharing about the power of podcasting on my LinkedIn profile and my newsletter, I've been refining my messaging and thinking about different ways and different angles I could tackle this topic. How can I make this topic closer to you? How can I make podcasting something that is desirable, something that you want to launch, a project that you're excited to start? And this is another one of those attempts because I know a lot of you, if you're a solopreneur, a solo business owner, a freelancer, a boutique agency owner, I know that you think that podcasting is complicated, it is time consuming, maybe you even have imposter syndrome, or maybe a podcast is something you should start later in life, later in your business, once your business is actually bigger, while it is actually the contrary. Reality is, podcasting actually solves a lot of the content problems, a lot of the mindset problems, a lot of the public speaking problems solopreneurs struggle with. And this is exactly why I wanted to take the time and think of the 10 best and most important reasons why you should consider podcasting today. And needless to say, with every single episode, I'm speaking from my own experience. You will sense that some of these reasons hit a bit closer to home for me. And I believe that you will relate to some more than the others. But I hope that at least one of these reasons will make you say yes to podcasting today. And this was a pun I was not planning, I promise. Let's start with reason number one, which you will surely appreciate. If you are a perfectionist, or if you consider yourself one, if you wear perfectionism as a badge of honor, podcasting removes that barrier. It removes the need to be perfect, to be polished all the time, to have everything set up perfectly. Because podcasting essentially is sharing knowledge verbally, is entertaining people like you would in real life. It is exchanging experiences, successes, client stories, sharing hardships, wins, and you're doing all of that with humans on the other end. And those humans that are listening to you do not require you to be perfect. They do not care if you stutter. They do not care if you have an accent. They do not care if you share your knowledge in your second language. Hint, that is me. But I don't want to go off on that imposter syndrome tangent. I want to talk about perfectionism for a second. So imagine yourself writing a post, editing a post, thinking about which paragraph should go first. Do they flow nicely? Does this sound good? Is this informational? Is it too personal? So you keep on rewriting the same sentences over and over again and deciding not to post in the end. But when you're speaking, when you're sharing your expertise, even your personal stories in this format, in this medium, it works differently. It sounds differently. And most importantly, it lands differently with your listeners compared to the text based posts. So, to wrap up this first reason, because we have 9 more to go, if you're a perfectionist, podcasting will help you let go of that burden really quickly and really naturally. Reason number two, and this is a bit of an inception moment because podcasting lets you explain ideas properly. This podcast episode I'm recording right now, 10 Reasons Solopreneurs Should Launch Their Podcasts Today, can work also as a listicle on LinkedIn because I use LinkedIn most frequently. But no matter the amount of effort I put in, it would not land the same way or even close to how it's landing right now as you're listening to my voice. So, this reason is pretty self explanatory because on most platforms, you're forced to think in short thoughts, short sentences, with the exception of blogging or YouTube. But here I'm talking about the most popular social media platforms like X, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and so on. But if you ever try to explain a complex topic, a complex concept in 140 characters or 500 words, you probably realize that some of those ideas simply need more space. You would be better off expressing them verbally. You would be doing yourself and your listeners more of a service if you explain them this way. Because it is one thing to share a listicle and briefly explain each point, and another thing is to explain things step by step with proper context and really unpack what you wanted to unpack. And no less important, inside that process, you're able to sprinkle in more of your personality, your voice, and your own examples. And when those who are listening hear you explaining your ideas and concepts like this, they feel more connected to you. But more on that in my next reason. Reason number three, this medium, the audio medium, creates a much stronger connection between you and those who are listening. I don't have to go too deep into this one because we all know how powerful it is to hear someone's voice and feeling like you're getting to know them with each episode, with each interaction, even though you're not in a dialogue. You're not actively participating in this conversation, but you're here and I'm here, and we understand each other way better than we would if we were to share a text post on LinkedIn. There is something really special about podcasting because it is so much less performative than other mediums. You can't really hide behind your voice, and you shouldn't aim to do so. You want the relationship between you and your listeners be as authentic as possible, as real as possible. Because when people are listening to you, they understand the way you think, they get to know you as a person, they see how you approach problems, and in the end, they realize how you can solve the problems they have. This leads me very smoothly to reason number four, which is podcasting can easily become a networking machine. And I know I just spoke about being human and real connections, and here I am talking about machines. But I'm only using this term as a metaphor because that is what it actually feels like. But I'm only using this term machine as a metaphor. Here's a fun fact. For my podcast Freelance Business Unlocked, I actually recorded 100 episodes that are still live out there. They exist. And out of those 100 episodes, over 70 of them are interview episodes. That means that I got to sit down and chat with each of those people for at least an hour. And we need to add in the chats before that and the chats that happen afterwards. So I essentially spent hours with each of those people and I got to know them. They got to know me. And here I am now, able to contact 90% of them today and let them know about a problem I'm having, referring them to someone else, asking them for advice, guidance, for a chat, anything. So, long story short, conversations easily turn into relationships when we're talking about podcasting, much more easily than turning a LinkedIn DM conversation to a relationship. There is absolutely a time and a place for that, but it is much more time consuming and it requires different techniques. So, turning conversations into relationships. I also mentioned guest appearances. Whether you're a guest or you're having someone as a guest on your show, they can lead to collaborations, partnerships, referral partnerships. So, your podcast essentially becomes a natural and human relationship building channel. And the best thing is, you can choose your own adventure. You can choose whom you invite on your show, who you pitch as a guest on their show, who you will pitch to be a guest on their show. So you can be as picky as you like. And that is the freedom that podcasting gives you, which leads me to reason number five, which is podcasting does give you creative freedom in every sense of that word. In almost every episode of this show, I mention social media platforms and how different they are to podcasting. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I will keep repeating this notion because 99% of you are on social media. And as we all know, there are certain trends on social media that keep on changing constantly. And let alone algorithms, a lot of people are trying to hack or figure out. If you have your own show, your own podcast, You're the one who decides the topics, the format, the length, the guests, the schedule. Your podcast is your own media platform that is decentralized, that is free from all the chains of social media, and that you can run the way you choose to run it. And let's keep on talking about this because, unlike social media posts, podcast episodes don't disappear after 24 hours as if they never existed. So, you guessed it, reason number six, podcast episodes have a very long lifespan. You would actually be surprised at how long they last. Because unlike social media, people more often than not discover podcasts months or even years later. And if they happen to like the episode they stumbled upon that day, they will for sure go back to your back catalog and see what you talked about 6 or 18 months ago. They will binge older episodes. So I would just like to challenge you here for a second and think of the last time you went to someone's LinkedIn profile and went back to see what they posted 6 months ago. I don't know, maybe someone does it, but they're definitely in the minority. Social media platforms work differently. They require fresh content most of the time. While most podcast episodes, at least those I record and those I help record for my clients, are evergreen. And that is the beauty of it. Evergreen content that is always available and that people actually go back to and binge. So, this episode I'm recording today and an episode you might record tomorrow could still be bringing new people into your world and into your business long after it is published. And speaking of production and publishing episodes, all of that sounds complicated at first. And it is definitely not easy. There is a learning curve. But reason number seven is podcasting is surprisingly flexible to produce. And I will specifically link to an episode where I talked about this topic in detail, and you can check it out in the show notes after this one. So I won't talk for too long about this one. But essentially, why podcasts are flexible to produce. You can batch record episodes. You don't need a fancy microphone because nowadays we have so many different pieces of software that can enhance our audios, that can polish up background noise and make you sound as if you're in a studio. And I already alluded to this earlier when I talked about freedom, but it bears repeating. You can make podcasting flexible for yourself if you choose a format that actually fits your energy, that fits your lifestyle and your schedule. So if you're a parent like me, you can record when your 7 month old baby is asleep, as I'm doing right now. And if she happens to wake up, I will get back to recording later, and you will not know that it happened. Well, now you will, but you see what I mean. And it doesn't matter if you're a parent or not. Chances are you're busy, your schedule is packed, and we all need flexibility. And you're the one who decides what flexible means for you. And if you want to take it a step further with little to no interruption to your flexibility, to your busy schedule, and as a result, get 1 month's worth of content in a single hour, consider booking a recording sprint session. You'll enjoy recording sprints so much because all you need to do is show up for 1 hour. Let me ask you strategic and intentional questions about your expertise and your offers. We're essentially doing an interview, and I'm playing the role of a curious listener, and the rest is on me. I take care of the editing, I edit myself out, and you get 4 solo audio episodes that are polished and ready to be published that will keep on serving you and doing the selling for you for months and years to come. But you already know that because we talked about that today. This is what one of my clients said about recording Sprint. I still cannot believe that we ended up with 4 new episodes in 1 hour. It takes me 2 hours to create one post for Instagram. So, if you're curious and want to find out more about recording Sprint, click the very first link in the show notes, and I hope to see you there. Now, this is the perfect segue into the next reason I have for you today, which is reason number 8, selling becomes much easier. I'm one of those who had a love hate relationship with selling, but ever since I started podcasting, selling came naturally to me because I do not treat this as a sales call or as a sales DM, as a sales strategy. This is my way of sharing my knowledge, my expertise with anyone who is willing to listen on the other side. And if you share all of that the right way, by the time someone listens to an entire podcast episode of yours, they've already spent 15, 20, sometimes even 40 minutes with you. You know what that means. They've heard how you think, they've heard your perspectives, your experiences, they've got to know you, as I said before. And when you give that CTA, when you invite them to work with you, it does not feel like a cold pitch because we've all been there. Those sales calls or email exchanges where you feel kind of forced to react, to respond. You're now folding your laundry, walking your dog, you're at the gym, minding your own business, listening to this podcast. And when I give you a CTA, you might consider it, you might not. I might need to repeat it 5 more times for it to land. And that is fine because I will be here in 5 weeks. You're sharing all of this for free and you're building so much goodwill that when people do approach you, they feel like they know you. They feel like they've been in dozens of conversations with you already. They feel like they already have a relationship with you. They will start quoting you back at yourself, which is so much fun. And I cannot imagine a more natural and painless sales process for both sides. But podcasting doesn't just help with selling your own products and services. Reason number 9, and it is probably the most obvious one, the one you've been hearing about a lot, it strengthens your authority, your position as an authority in your field. Being a podcast host carries a different kind of weight than being on social media, as we said a couple times in this episode already. You're creating conversations, you're sparking different ideas, you're sharing your insights, and you're actually building a body of work around what you know best, around your expertise. And if I were to look for a subcontractor, a freelancer of any kind, and if they gave me a link to their podcast and not their CV, I would appreciate that so much more. Because being a podcast host carries a different kind of weight if you're doing it right and if you're doing it consistently. This is something I talked about in the previous reason number 8, where selling becomes much easier through podcasting. And it is the same here. When someone spends as little as 10 to 15 minutes with you and they hear you speak, they hear you think, and they hear you sharing your ideas, they will subconsciously consider you an authority. Again, if you're doing it confidently. And finally, there is one reason that many solopreneurs are not aware of until they start podcasting. Reason number 10, your podcast can actually fuel your entire content strategy. And I will link to another episode where I talked about this in the show notes. But essentially, you can use this one piece of content to fuel everything else you're doing online, if you choose to do so. So yes, one podcast episodes can definitely turn into various social media posts, newsletters, short form, video clips, quotes, blog posts. And I have some rather unpopular opinions on all of these. And I will link to the episode where I talk about content repurposing in the show notes. And I promise you will not regret spending 10 minutes listening to that episode. I'm aware that this was a bit of a longer episode, but whenever someone asks me about the benefits of podcasting and whether they should start their podcast today or yesterday, I will link to this episode. Now, here's a quick recap, and I actually have the list in front of me because I know we covered a lot. Podcasting helps you, number 1, ditch perfectionism. Number 2, explain ideas better and more deeply. Number 3, build a stronger connection with your audience. Number 4, create meaningful relationships with your peers. Number 5, maintain creative freedom. Number 6, produce content that has a long lifespan. Number 7, stay flexible with your workflow and your schedule. Number 8, it helps you sell more naturally. Number 9, strengthen your authority. And finally, number 10, podcasting helps you power your entire content ecosystem. And that is it. As I said at the very start, I hope that you will take at least one reason from this episode, take it to heart, and take at least one step that will get you closer to launching your podcast today. For what it's worth, this was really fun for me to go through, and it further solidified why I love podcasting so much and why I want every solopreneur to launch one of theirs. So thank you for listening in. Thank you for being here. And I promise I will be here next week as well. See ya.